generations to come.
Welcome to another edition of the TDN Writers Room podcast presented by Keeneland. My name is Bill Finley. I'm a correspondent for the Thoroughbred Daily News and also broadcast racing on Sirius XM Radio.
How y'all doing? I'm Brandy Moss with NBC Sports. Looking forward to our upcoming chat with Mr. Terry Bradshaw. Also, I got papers everywhere. Zoe loves that. I'm preparing for a telecast this weekend, old school style. We've got on NBC Saturday and Sunday races from Keeneland and also from Santa Anita. It'll be on CNBC from 4 to 6 p.m. on Saturday, and then NBC regular on Sunday, also from 4 to 6. Just a broadcast alert there, Zoe.
Definitely will be looking forward to that. I'll have to press record at home because I'll be at Santa Anita. I'm Zoe Cadman with Santa Anita and First TV, and really looking forward to talking to Mr. Bradshaw.
Aren't we all? He's going to be a great guest, I assume, because he's interesting. He's eccentric. And I think hopefully that we'll get that same sort of Terry Bradshaw out of him. So guys, usually we start off the show by going over the bigger races of the weekend. I want to do something a little bit different because I think the biggest story of the week was not anything that happened on the racetrack, but was the Paco Lopez situation. And he was given a 6-month suspension by GIII for essentially violating his probation when he hit a horse by the name of National Law across the face with a whip in December. He only served 45 days then. And since then, there have been 25 over-the-head violations that GIII has recorded. 8 of them belong to Paco Lopez. So I think the GIII just said, enough is enough, Paco. You haven't learned your lesson, and take a little vacation, my friend. Zoe, you're our expert jockey. What do you think of this?
All right. Well, let me just preface with, we'll start off with this. When Paco Lopez hit that horse, National Law, around the face in December, I wholeheartedly agree that we have no room for that in this sport of horse racing, and he should have got 6 months. He should have served his 6 months. He wouldn't have been having the best year ever had he done the 6 months already. So I'll leave that there and we'll move on. What has happened since, however, I feel is akin to moving the goalposts. Now, we're not quite sure what this 2-year probationary period was. You mentioned the 8 whip violations with putting his arm above his shoulder to hit a horse when there's only been 25 nationwide between all the jockeys in America. One thing I can't quite understand is if all the other jocks in America seem to get it right, why is Paco Lopez at fault 8 of the 25 violations that have come through? What I'd really like to know is, what were the stipulations of the probation? Was it 8? Paco, if you get 8 violations, you're automatically out for 2 years. If that's the case, and he knew he was coming up on 8, okay, fair game. You know, you had your probation. The magic number is 8. But was there a magic number? I'm not sure there was. And this, to me, is exactly what happened with Bob Baffert's feud with CDI when he served his 2 years, and then they just tacked on another one just for the hell of it. We can't keep moving the goalposts. So for that, I stand with Paco. For the incident in December, he should have got 6 months. And I, as a horse owner, can quite easily say I wouldn't put him on a horse purely because of that. But this, what has happened since, is not fair.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this. I suppose if I was judge, jury, and executioner in this case, I probably would give him 2 or 3 months instead of the 6 months. I mean, I think a message has to be delivered that hasn't gotten through, apparently. But I agree with you. I don't think there was communication necessarily with Paco saying you get X number of violations and then we're really going to lower the hammer on you. He's also a very unsympathetic figure. Everybody in horse racing knows he's been kind of a loose cannon on the racetrack. 2019, Gulfstream suspended him for 30 days for his part in a spill. Came right back then and suspended him for 60 more days when there was another spill. They ultimately trimmed that with community service and things like that. Then there's the incident, where he hits the horse in the face and all that. Since then, right? Since he came back from that 46-day suspension, right? February the 10th, 2 violations for raising the whip, both for $500 fines. 1-day suspensions on Feb 25, April 23rd, April 29th, May 6th, July the 20th, 2 days on August the 20th, 3 days on August the 23rd, 1 day on September 11th. Are you kidding me? Seriously? I mean, this guy clearly either isn't getting the message or doesn't give a care, and it's worth it to him to take a 1-day suspension if it comes to winning a particular race. So, yeah, I do think that a message needs to be delivered, and a strong message needs to be delivered. But do I think 6 months is a little over the top? Yeah, I do. And I expect that, honestly, maybe I'm wrong. I kind of expect that to be adjudicated downward, compromised downward just a little bit, but we'll see.
Randy, one other thing I'd like to point out about this, and it's kind of piggybacking off what you said, he doesn't learn his lesson. And he acts on the racetrack like the rules don't apply to him. What is there, 3,000 jockeys in the country? And these guys, it's only Paco. It's always Paco. And you named all these different suspensions, 30 days here, 60 days. He didn't learn his lesson from any of them. When he gets back on the horse, he's just back to being Paco. Now, he's got it. That's why I don't think he's going to change. I am all in favor of the 6-month suspension. I think they should have given him more than 6 months for hitting that horse in the face with the whip. But somebody's got to sit this guy down and say, you got to stop this stuff. It's bad for your career, and it's certainly bad for horse racing.
I'd just like to know the number. I mean, in order to see this correctly, we need to know, was it 8 whip violations? You're out. Was it 5? Or did they just suddenly wake up and go, oh, another one? All right, yeah, screw it. I've had enough of him. Write him off for 6 months. That's what I think is the thing that we need to know.
What's interesting is that in the HISA whip rules, I went back and looked at the regulations, the way they're written, and they are very specifically written with point totals for violations and escalating suspensions that go all the way up to 30 days. But those are only for whip violations pertaining to the number of times a horse is hit during the running of a race. There's no sort of guidelines like that about the violations when a jockey raises his wrist over his helmet. So that's all kind of fly by the seat of your pants sort of thing, at least as far as the regulations, the way they're written right now, are concerned. And I think, as Bill pointed out, Heise just said, okay, this is enough is enough. It's a bad look for horse racing, and we're going to do something about it.
One thing quickly that I think is a plus for the sport, because we never seem to manage this, all the jocks have stuck together on this. And every single jock that's for Paco has probably likely been fouled by Paco at one point or time. And I think in this day and age, it's actually good to see some unity in some part of horse racing. So kudos to the jocks for sticking together.
And they're saying the right things. Like Johnny Velasquez he's not against the whip rules. He said rules are rules. Rules need to be followed. And he needs to get a message, but we just think that 6 months is too much.
Gotcha. Well, guys, let's now return to the racetrack. And the big race over the weekend, and one of the big races over the weekend, was the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic out at Aqueduct. And isn't this Rebel's Romance a neat horse? He's 7 years old. He wins the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. He's already won 2 Breeders' Cups. In 24, he won the Breeders' Cup Turf. And in 22, he won the Breeders' Cup Turf as well. His stablemate, El Cordobas, a little bit disappointing, finishing third. But Randy, you said he'd be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Turf. I'm sure he will be. He's a fun horse. He's easy to root for.
This might have been the first time in his career he was ever put on the early lead. I'm not sure about that. He's run an awful lot of times in his life. I love the ride by Frankie Dettori. I still don't know why William Buick didn't make the trip over to ride him. Maybe that was published somewhere and I missed it. Wouldn't be
there
the
was
first
some
time.
very big races at Newmarket.
Yeah, he won a Group 1. He won the Middle Park.
Yeah. All right.
Anyone can ride Rebel's Romance, right? Like, Bill can even ride Rebel's. He's not hard to ride. You put him on the lead and you sit there. If they're going too slow, you just let him out a notch. Bill could easily have done that.
Well,
Is ever any jockey, if I rode him, has any jockey in history ever been 75 pounds overweight?
to Frankie Dettori's credit, he looked at the past performances, didn't see a lot of early speed, said he reached out to the Charlie Appleby people and said, hey, look, there's not much speed in here. Would you be okay if I put him on the lead if the situation develops that way and nobody goes? And they're like, hey, use your own best judgment. William Buick told him that, the horse would be just fine on the lead if that's the way the race developed. And obviously he was. I mean, what a neat horse he is. And he gets a chance now to win if all goes well, if he stays sound, become the first horse ever to win 3 Breeders' Cup turfs. Wow.
He's amazing.
He's something else. Speaking of something else, how about Bob Baffert, the weekend he had? And the biggest win came in the Goodwood. And you're not used to seeing this, Baffert winning with, 10 to 1, 8 to 1, 9 to 1 shots. I don't recall exactly what Nevada Beach was, but he was not the favorite. So this was Baffert's weekend, and we can talk more about the individual races. In the Zenyatta Stakes, he runs 1-2 with Cavalieri and Ricci. Cavalieri is undefeated in 5 starts. Obviously now heads to the Breeders' Cup distaff. Nevada Beach, who was just a 3-year-old, I didn't give him any chance in the Goodwood. Thought he was biting off more than he could chew. He wins that race for Bob Baffert. Will be going now in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And to top it off, Imagination wins the Santa Anita Sprint. So he has another one going for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But, it's typical of Baffert to have a big weekend like this. But I think he's going to be very strong in the Breeders' Cup.
Huge weekend for Baffert. 4 winning your ins. Tim Yakteen, of course, got the other one with Johannes, but Bob winning the other 3. And with perhaps the horses we weren't expecting him to. Nevada Beach with Mike Smith, terrific ride by Mike, just putting this horse just off the pace. Cavalieri coming off a 6-month layoff and basically jumping up in the air at the start, losing all chance, getting a terrific ride under Juan Hernandez. I mean, you got to think that she's probably going to wind up to be the favorite, wouldn't you say, in the distaff?
Her Torpedo Anna.
Yeah, it depends what Torpedo Anna does in the Spinster.
It really does. So she was terrific. And then Imagination. I interviewed Bob. I said, I don't have an imagination that big to imagine this horse even winning. How the hell did that happen? Like, poor Mark Blatt was shaking his head afterwards with Dr. Venkman. And he was like, how did that happen? He goes, I don't understand. How did that happen? My horse ran his race and he's second to the horse I wasn't worried about. I mean, you're always worried about Bob, but that horse got bet down. He went off at 5 to 1. So did you think he had a shot, Randy?
Not really. No, No, I didn't think he had a shot. And, Bob's also got, waiting in the wings. Of course, he's got Hope Road, who'll be one of the leading contenders along with Copion and Sweet Azteca in the Filly Mare Sprint. And then that doesn't even count as 2-year-olds that we'll be talking about coming up in the American Pharoah and the Oakleaf this weekend. So, the white-haired guy is loaded for the Breeders' Cup this year.
Good to be Bob.
So I want to mention also the Lucas Classic. It's a grade 2 race, but it was nice to see Mystic Dan get back into the winner's circle. Francisco Arrieta, the substitute rider, I thought he rode a really good race. He had the horse really in tight in the stretch, and he kind of just, motored his way through those tight quarters. Is he good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Classic? Probably not. But he's good enough to win a grade 2 and an important race. That's kind of his level. Kenny McPeak has managed him very well. But I've always liked this horse and feel bad for Brian Hernandez. He's already lost him, and now he's going to lose Torpedo Anna and the Spinster on Sunday, with the substitute riders going to be Flavien Prat. But congratulations to the whole team behind Mystic Dan.
He didn't have the best trip and won anyway. Disarm finishes well when he's running one of his better races, which he did in the Lucas Classic. And Mystic Dan just outfinished him and caught him from behind. For a Kentucky Derby winner, this is a horse that's been sort of lost in the shuffle in the classic conversation. Everybody wants to talk about, and rightfully so, about sovereignty and journalism and fierceness in Sierra Leone and mind frame. Forever Young, who runs Wednesday in Japan in his prep race for the Breeders' Cup Classic. So Mystic Dan's just hasn't been very much in the classic conversation so far. And And maybe he will be a little bit now, but I agree with you, Bill. I think he's he's going to be at least 10-1, I would think, in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and maybe even as high as
higher than that,
15-1. Yeah.
I think he might go to the dirt mile. I mean, it'd be a different kettle of fish if we were running the race at Churchill Downs, but we're not. But what a gutsy little horse he is. Thank God he's so narrow. I literally watched the race with my hands over my eyes because I'm like, he's getting engulfed. And how is he getting through that? And it was just like there was a concertina on Mystic Dam that kept closing the door and his little body kept opening it. It was amazing to watch. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go back and watch it. Watch the head on too. My God.
So coming up now is part 1 of 2-part interview with Terry Bradshaw. That's coming up. And then we'll be back to talking about the races. But listen in, this is a real fun interview from a real fun guy.
The TDN Writers Room is brought to you by Keeneland, whose 17-day full meet opens on Friday, October the 3rd, and runs through Saturday, October the 25th. The weekend kicks off with a quintet of Grade 1 races. We'll lead off with the Darley Alcibiades head on Friday, the Coolmore Turf Mile First Lady and Claiborne Futurity on Saturday, and the Juddmonte Spinster on Sunday. First race will be 1 o'clock every day with no racing on Mondays and Tuesdays. We'll be right back after this message from Keeneland.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
The fastest horse of the week, brought to you by the Fast Sires at WinStar Farm. And the spotlight this week is on Constitution. I did a Google search in AI mode, which told me that Constitution has had 40 graded stakes winners worldwide. I don't know how much you can trust AI when it comes to horse racing, but it's a pretty healthy number, and that number is growing. Constitution picked up his latest graded winner in the Vosburg over the weekend, Grade 3. Patriot Spirit took that win in your in race for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Congratulations, by the way, to Patriot Spirit's breeder, Blue Heaven Farm, and owner, George Mellon. Fastest horse of the week, we've talked about him, Rebels Romance. 106 buyer speed figure, taking it from gate to wire in the Joe Hirsch. And Rebels Romance, as we said, will almost certainly be a very solid favorite in the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Well, we have a special Gainesway guest of the week. You know him from his play on the football field, being in the NFL Hall of Fame, and also his work on Fox NFL broadcasts. But you might get to start to know him as a possible owner of a Breeders' Cup horse. This is none other than Terry Bradshaw, who was obviously very excited about the win by Taken by Wind in the Pocahontas Stakes. Terry, I want to back up a little bit, though. You were very involved in the quarter horse business for a very long time. You've owned a couple of
I still am.
Okay, you still am. You own part of Mission Impassable. You own part of Gradar. Now you have Taken by the Wind. Where did this affinity for horses come from?
I grew up, I spent most of my time on my grandfather's farm, and he had Clydesdales, and I used to sit on top of them while he plowed. And the smell of the horse sweat was something, it was like perfume to me. I thought it was the coolest thing. And I was always down there loving on them and crawling on them. And my uncles were all cutting horse riders. They all rode cutting horses. So that's, it's kind of like a kid. Introduce them to a bunch of stuff and they'll pick what they like. And I picked horses. It's just a natural thing for me.
So with cutting horses, you were obviously raised around the quarter horse breed.
Right.
What some people don't realize is that you've actually had a Kentucky Derby starter. Mission Impossible. You also own Gradar. Through your association with your Louisiana Tech buddy, Steve Davison, and Twin Creeks Racing. But then you got out to focus primarily on raising quarter horses of all kinds, not just racing quarter horses. And now you're back.
Right.
Why the return now to thoroughbreds?
Randy, I got a call. I watch 602 all the time. Thoroughbreds channel, and it's racing. And I never really got out of it mentally. I got out of it physically. And then I always wanted to get back in, but I didn't really, I could easily have done that. And I'd actually called Steve Davison and said, Steve, I've done this horse, the quarter horse thing. I got my stallion business going. I said, you know what? I'm a little bored. I need to get some action back. And I said, what do you got that I can buy into? And to his credit, he said, you know, I really don't have anything that I would want you and I to be in. And I said, well, yeah, I appreciated that. And then Kurt Menifee and I got together, and Kurt was telling me what a great, because Fox does the Belmont. Mm-hmm. And Kurt said, you got to meet this Kenny McPeak. You and him would hit it off. You guys are just alike. I said, really? Yes, yeah. And then he won with Mystic Dan. He won the Kentucky Derby, and Torpedo Annie. And I went, oh, really? And so I called Kenny and said, you know, Kurt and I want to buy a horse together. And so we bought one. Kenny sent us a list of 8, and we picked out one stud, Power Aura. And then I picked out 2 more fillies, because I'm really into fillies. I don't really want the studs, because the studs aren't really great. You can't stand them at stud, and they got to win one of the big 3, or they've got to be like Candy Ride and, you know, sweep everything. But he did win the Belmont. So it was, or I decided, I want the fillies. And I had no reason for picking, taken by the wind. She was just there, and I liked the name. That's the only reason. Mm-hmm. Never saw the horse. Still haven't seen her. Don't even know what she looks like. Mm-hmm. So that's how I did it. And so I said to Kurt, Kurt, isn't that the best way, Randy, to do it? So I said, Kurt, you want in on? I bought 2 fillies. He said, no. I just want to do one. So I bought those 2 fillies, and then I'm in on 8 more yearlings this year. So it's exciting. I understand the game. I know win or lose, horses, they either run or they don't, or they get hurt, and so on and so forth. And it was just the excitement of being back in the thoroughbred business, and then taken by the wind. Come on. Did I expect her to win? I can't say no. I'll tell you exactly. No. And just kind of like with Terry Bradshaw, was not going to win anything like that, although I was successful with Mission and Gradar. But then it got fun, and then she won the stakes race, the Pocahontas. And the way she ran on that race, and I was watching it, told my wife, look how easy she's running. I mean, she's not even tired. And then coming out of turn 4, and she split them and just turned it on, and she has that distance in her pedigree. And I went, wow. And that got me excited. I don't mind telling you. And I couldn't wait to tell Kurt, hey, Kurt, made a little money yesterday. So, I mean, that's a long story, but it was just, let's do it just for fun. That's all it was.
Terry, before we get back to horses, we want to know, what are those bird-like noises in the background?
You're so smart. Birds.
They're birds.
They're birds. They're birds. They're macaws, and they are loud. I mean, right now we're catching a break, but this is where I do podcasts, and they're over grooming themselves right now, but they are some loud suckers. You're right. But they're birds.
Were they squawking when you watched the race? I take it. Did you watch the race from home, Terry? The Pocahontas?
No, I was on the road. I think we were in New York, and I called Kenny. And Kenny said, I said, Kenny, when does the mare race? And he said, 6 minutes. And so we had 6 minutes. So we put it on. And, hey, Randy, you guys have been in this business so long. I wasn't expecting anything. And then she was right in the pack. It was all clustered up, and she was just sitting there about 5th and running easy. I thought, look, how easy she looked. coming out of turn 3. She's still right where she was, not straining, not doing anything. And then she came out of turn 4. She made her move, and I went, "You got to be kidding me." I said, "Tammy, we're going to win this thing." And then it got exciting down the stretch, and she just bolted and just kept going. And I was like, wow, that is so cool.
So you only had 6-minute warning before the race started. Did you even have time to get a bet down?
No, I don't. Hey, Randy, I don't bet. I don't gamble. Well, that's not true. Steve and I do. When I'm with Steve, I put $500 in, and it's like, okay, when I lose it, I'm through. And it's like, well, why you always got to lose? Well, it's thoroughbred racing, and I don't know how to handicap these things. And Steve's pretty good at it. He owns the Ragusan. He owns that paper, and he's pretty good. And we won like in the first 2 races at Churchill. He picked them. We won the first 2. We pocketed about $3,000 a piece. And I went, wow, I'm through for the day. And then he said, let's do a trifecta. And I said, I don't know how you do a trifecta. We won $50,000 on the trifecta. $50,000. Now here's the kicker. I am so beside myself. I've made so much money on 4 or 5 races. And every time we won, we go to the window and get the cash, right? On the $1,800, we went and got the cash. 2,000, we went and got the cash. The 50,000, I had a mare out of Indian Charlie, and she was saddling in the paddock, and Steve said, let's go watch him saddle our mare for the race. We got a big race, a race coming up. And I said, no. Let's go get the $50,000. He says, well, we'll get it on the way back. I said, no. Let's go get the money right now. If we get $1,800, surely you'll go get 50,000, right? So he said, no. So I thought, okay, fine. We go down and watch her get saddled up, and then she gets last in the race, and I didn't care because I'm wanting the 50 grand. We go back to the window. Steve's doing this.
Oh, no.
Lost it. Lost the ticket. Lost the $50,000 ticket. Lost it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, what happened? What's up? He goes, I can't find the ticket. I said, what do you mean you can't find it? Where'd you put it? He said, I think I put it in my pocket, my shirt pocket. I went, you got to be kidding. It was gone. We looked everywhere. Now, as you well know, there's tickets all over the floor.
Sure.
Impossible to find. And so I was sick. And Steve, to his credit, traced it, went back to the machine, gave the number, the credit card number, something. He had a suite at Churchill Downs, and they redid 8 months later, we got our money.
Oh, okay.
They went, they traced it back to the betting machine. Isn't that something?
Now,
that's quite a story right there. But
did you reinvest it with Kenny? You said you're on the hook for 8 more.
I have, Kenny got into my pocket.
Trainers will do that, Kenny. You know that.
You don't think I don't know that? Listen, I've been showing horses here for 40 something years, and we're at a big show right now. And, I know, but I do all the buying for the quarters. I'm not worried about that. And I hired the trainer. But Kenny, basically, they sit there and, you take the money. I told him, I said, here's X amount of dollars that you have. And he says, he thinks that I'm Tom Brady. And as y'all know, I didn't make that kind of money when I played. The most I made was $300,000. Well, they make that in the first quarter, these quarterbacks nowadays. And so I said, no, and my wife's going, oh, we're building a house and you're taking this money. And I said, hey, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. It's going to be fine. And so I told Kenny, here's your money. He did overspend. He did by $40,000. He overspent by $40,000. And so, but He's kind of like, you know him so well. He's kind of like, okay, it's all right. It's all right, Kenny. It's okay. Such a big personality. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I don't have it, but it's fine. But yeah, we're back in, and it's just fun. I'm excited about. I'm 70. I'm 77 years old, and I need that rush. Can't play, and the quarter horses, while our stallions have been winning for years and our produce have done really well. This is a different game, So maybe go to the Breeders' Cup. Shoot, maybe you win it. I told Kurt, if I get in the Breeders' Cup with my mare and we win, that race is on a Friday. Would that be correct? Would it be on a Friday?
Correct. Yes.
I won't be there on a Sunday. I will call in sick because I'll still be celebrating. Yeah, I won't be there. Where's Terry? He's in San Diego. He rented out a hotel. Oh my God!
Awesome. So Terry,
look what I'm drinking. Look what I'm drinking out of. See king. That? King. My wife brought me the king.
So where are you now, and what have you done with all your fabulous quarter horses? Because I didn't actually realize you were that involved in the quarter horses. I looked up all your stallions. My favorite one is Mr. Hollywood, by the way. He's beautiful. Yeah. Where are the horses now?
He's a bay roan. He's a young horse. Yeah. They are great horses. The others are young horses that we have raised and are putting into the breeding program, but we'll sell a lot of those. But right now, there's a massive show going on in Fort Worth called the WCHA World Conformation Horse Association. It's huge, a lot of money. And yesterday, my 2-year-old mare got second, got reserved, but by a horse called Speechless, one of our great young stallions. And then the mare that won it is by Speechless. So I went 1 and 2. And that's pretty amazing. We've won about, 8 or 9 world titles already at this show. So our breeding program's pretty solid for the quarter horses. And I stand a running horse that we use for ranch. We're breeding him for ranch riding. I took 2 thoroughbred mares that Kenny had that couldn't run, and I'm breeding them to him. And I may win the All-American. You never know. So,
wow. Do you show them yourself?
So yeah, we're still heavily involved in quarter horses.
Do you show them yourself? Can we see Terry Bradshaw trotting down showing them? It's awesome.
Wow. So
yes, you can. Yeah, you can. At the World Show in November, my wife and my whole family shows horses. My granddaughter's already got 6 world titles. She's amazing. My wife's a way better shower than me because it's that woman's touch, that patience. She's just so cool and calm. Me, I'm on the muscle or on the bit or whatever you call it. I'm sweating and, like I'm focused and dialed in. I don't want that horse to act up. And when he does, I just perspire. She's just calm and cool and excellent. But the whole family shows, which is fun. Oh. Yeah.
Terry, you are a cowboy. A lot of people don't realize that.
Well, I'm in the Angus business too. We raise Angus cattle. So yeah, I grew up and became a cowboy. Then football took over. But I got right into ranching once. In 1971, I bought 400 acres in Louisiana and went into commercial cattle business. And then I rode a cutting horse called out of Stormy Day Moore, about 14.2. So I was always in the cattle business, always riding horses, stuff like that. And yeah, I love that. I love that. It's a good life, Randy. It's just a good life. It's just get up early in the morning. You go through your livestock. You feed your horses in the farm. You check on your cattle. You do what you got to do. You round them up and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's the life I enjoy.
We'll be right back after these messages for part 2 of our interview with Terry Bradshaw.
And the TDN Writers Room also brought to you, as always, by the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders Association, a.k.a. PHBA. Here's a PA bred alert. Don't miss the $350,000 in Pennsylvania bred 2-year-old stakes coming up the next couple of months, November, December. The $100,000 Pennsylvania Nursery for 2-year-olds at 7 furlongs, $100,000 Shamrock Rose Stakes for 2-year-old fillies at 6 furlongs. Those will be Monday, November 26th at Parks. 4 days later, also at Parks, December 30, the PA bred, PA sired, $75,000 Wait For It stakes for 2-year-olds and Misbehavior stakes for 2-year-old fillies. Both of those are at 6 furlongs. Don't miss out on all the action. For more information on how you can get involved in the PA Bred program, just log on to pabred.com or pick up your mobile device and call Brian Sanfrantello, 610-444-1050.
The Pennsylvania breeding program is the best program in the country. The stallion awards, the owner bonuses, also the restricted races and the stakes races for Pennsylvania breds. This year, 8 breeders are on track to earn over $200,000 in breeders awards, and 2 could hit the $1 million mark. We have the best program in the country. Take advantage of the fantastic program that we have.
Learn more at pabred.com.
With some of the fullest fields in the country and quality racing year-round, there's never been a better time to reap the rewards of breeding and racing in Kentucky. Purse money in Kentucky is at an all-time high, as is average purse per race, outpacing California, Florida, and New York. Kentucky breds. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win.
As you might expect, Kentucky breds dominate the North American leading earnings list through September. All of the top 20, though, are claimed by horses bred in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Leading the pack of horses, Grade 1, multiple Grade 1 winners. Sovereignty, the early Breeders' Cup Classic favorite. He's earned over $5.6 million. After that, Journalism, $3.8 million. White Abarrio, $1.9 million. This season, that Pegasus World Cup helped a lot there. In England, meanwhile, Kentucky-bred Scandinavia made it back-to-back Group 1 triumphs with his impressive score in the Group 1 St. Leger. Now, if you don't follow European racing, English racing, the English Triple Crown, 2,000 guineas, English Derby, Epsom Derby, and then the St. Leger, which gives Kentucky breds wins in 2 of those 3 races, Scandinavia and the St. Leger. And go back to the 2,000 guineas, which was won by Godolphin's Ruling Court, bred in Kentucky. Kentucky breds, breed them, raise them, race them. We all win.
Terry, the other 2 horses that you have with Kenny McPeak, but have they raced yet? What's the story on them?
No, Power Aura is a stud. I don't know much about him because I went to Saratoga and watched him work out. Huge. My God, he's big. Then he got hurt. And so he's not back in training. And the filly, I don't even know her name. Nobody even says a word about her. She'll probably win everything. But I don't know anything about her. Never seen her. I've not seen, the only horse I've seen that I bought is Power Aura. The rest, haven't seen him at all. Well, I mean, I'm gone all the time. I travel all the time. I don't have, I'm not home. We're home probably 75 days a year. So, he keeps saying, you got to come up. Kenny, I can't come up. If I come up there and I'm wasting time, I'm not making money. If I'm not making money, then I can't buy horses. I can't do the things we enjoy doing. So I have not seen, I wouldn't want anybody to think I'm some thoroughbred, I'm not. I mean, I'm studying it, and I love studying the, such as, Taken by the Wind. I mean, I love, I looked up her side, her dad, Rock Your World. And I looked up for Grabs, her mother, and I just studied their pedigree. And I went, oh, wow, bred pretty good, Young stallions. Yeah, not bad.
So let's talk about that a little bit. I just came across a photo of you. I think it was taken September 24 at the Keeneland September sale. And you got your sales catalog in your hand. And you are grinning from ear to ear like you are having a blast.
Did I have it upside down?
I don't know. You really enjoy that part of the sport.
My thrill in the horse business is breeding. That's why I like mares, racing fillies. I love the breeding. That's my one thing I'm really good at is selective breeding. And going to a thoroughbred sale, Randy, I've already told you because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm standing on the rail one year and they're walking these horses out back of the sale barn. I'm there for the sale and I'm watching this horse walk and I'm doing this. I don't even have a book and I'm watching her and I'm in the halter and performance business. So I'm a confirmation guy. And I'm watching her walk and she comes by and I walk and Steve comes over. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm watching that mare right there." She comes back around and he gets her number. I said, "She's gorgeous. Look at that thing." And I'm just watching, so pretty. And he said, "That's an Indian Charlie." I went, "Oh, so that's how I fell in love with Indian Charlie." All right. And so I'm watching, really? He said, "Are you going to try to buy her?" I said, "Yeah, I think I will." So I go in there and she was $650,000 before I even burped. And I'm like, oh my God. So much for that. Hey, that told me I had a good eye, but yeah, I swear to everybody that's listening, I look at them as I'm in halter business. I look at them as halter. I see how pretty they are. I can't stand an ugly horse. And, they just have to be pretty. Of the horses that I just recently bought, all of them are attractive animals. Now the rest of them I don't know anything about. That's where, Kenny does, they watch them walk. I remember this one time, this friend of mine, we were at the sales and he says, "Look at that rascal walk. Oh my God, look at that." And I went, walking, and he says, "God, try it for me." Oh my God, this thing's amazing. I went, "What are you doing?" You're walking it, walk and trot, and that's amazing. I didn't get it. So they bought it. They paid $400,000 for it. That sucker couldn't even come out of the chute. So much for walking and trotting. So I don't know. You know what? If it was always about money, if it only takes money to be successful in the thoroughbred business, guys like me and most of everybody could never get in it. And I was watching, is it Rapoli? That's the guy I watched him the other day in the sale. I was reading the sales and he spent like $10 million on 8 horses. And I'm like, oh my God. Can you imagine? 10 million to him is 10,000 to me, and 10,000. I'm bragging now, but God. And I'm thinking, and I told Kenny, I said, "Kenny, you got any billionaire partners? You got any of those billionaires?" As I told Kenny, I said, you're kind of a working thoroughbred trainer, Just gets a bunch. He studies it. He's got something he looks at. I told him I'm going to hang out with him and he's going to teach me what he's doing. I'm not going to share it with anybody, but I said, you're doing something because he's too successful without having all these $2 million, $1.5 million horses. So, yeah, if it was all about money, the sheiks and everybody, they'd win every race and the rest of us would sit back there going, wow, they're amazing. I wish I was making $1 billion a day, but I'm not. So, but that's not the case. You can't look inside them. You don't know their heart. You don't know if they're going to run. Hey, how would you like to spend $3 million on a horse? Bred great, top and bottom, and it can't run a lick. Oh, I think that'd be devastating. But, doesn't seem to bomb. Come back next year, just do it all over again.
So a little Terry Bradshaw horse racing trivia here. You ready, Terry?
Let's have it.
All right. So you had Gradar, right, who ran 6 times. A lot of people don't remember Gradar. He was a very underappreciated horse. He was 6
a bridal song. Yeah.
Won 5 of his 6. right? Triple digit Meyer speed figures galore. You led him into the winner's circle in the New Orleans handicap, right?
Right.
So he lost one race in his life. Okay. You remember who you lost that race to?
No. Who?
Bill Parcells.
Oh, and who did Bill own?
He owned a horse called Saratoga Snacks that was one of his best horses that he ever owned. And that's right? That's the horse that beat Gradar. So you lost to Bill Parcells in the only time Gradar got beat.
Yeah, Gradar was something. That sucker could. And if there was a knock on Gradar as a racehorse, he was a front runner. And the knock was if you get up to him, he won't fight, you know. But at the Louisiana Derby or the whatever they call that down there, we won that thing 2 years in a row. We also run it with Mission Impossible. But he lost the lead coming out of turn 4, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man. And then he came back and he dug in and he fought and won by half a length. I thought, God, that's so cool. That's when one of my favorite pictures, it's not in here, but it was me leading him off the track. That was so cool. And then we thought we had, you know, he just couldn't stay. We couldn't stay together. Both my horses were eligible for the Derby, Preakness, and so forth, but he stayed hurt and got ready to the Breeders' Cup and be one of the favorites there, and he got hurt. Yeah. So that was very frustrating. And then we sold him his breeding rights to Taylor, and then he just wasn't a breeding horse, you know.
All right. So you mentioned Breeders' Cup. Let's circle this back around now.
Okay.
There's got to be nothing in your world like winning the Super Bowl. I mean, you won 4 of them.
Right.
But that's got to be the ultimate. Now, but what about winning a Breeders' Cup race?
I don't know.
How do you think that would feel?
I already told you I'm not going to work Sunday. I don't. I'm one of those people that doesn't like to think about greatness, okay? It scares me. Playing in a Super Bowl, I'm in charge. I'm in control. And I'm nervous because I don't want to screw up. I know my legacy depends on winning the Super Bowl. And so the greatest stress I ever had in my life was those 4 Super Bowls we won. The Breeders' Cup, I'll be there if we make it that far. If we get there, if everything goes all right and training goes okay, and she makes it there, and I'm sure I'm going to talk myself into saying, "Look, this is pretty good. Just getting here with a horse that
it is
$20,000. Come on, $20,000. I'm in the Breeders' Cup." And I'm going to talk myself into low expectations, I guess, because I don't have control of this. So many variables come into play when you win those kind of races. I've watched them for years on television. I've been to a couple of Breeders' Cups myself. So I'll be nervous. I'll be real nervous. And then I'll be like a proud dad. I'll just go, God, I just hope she runs good and doesn't embarrass herself, you know. I guess I'm going to do everything I can to diffuse the pressure. You know, okay, it's just great to be here. Just great to be here. Terry, because if I do make it there, you know, the press is going to ask me, oh, that's just a nice horse. She's just a nice horse. I'm really proud of her. She'll try hard. She's da-da-da-da-da. And then as she's coming down the stretch, if she's up there, now I'm going to need to take 4 or 5 Xanaxes. That's when, and then Randy, listen, you guys, that is an almost unthinkable, unimaginable moment for me to think that I would be able to be a part of something like that. And to win it, you know, I'm thinking, you go, well, why not me? I got a good horse, you know, why not me? So you can see I'm already back and forth here and there, but definitely definitely am going to try to diffuse the moment so that I can just enjoy it, because if not, I'll be a nervous wreck. I just want her to run good. If she gets there, run good, make herself, she should be proud of herself. As you tell your kids, you don't ever tell your kids, I'm so proud of you. You say to your kids, aren't you proud of yourself? And then you go, I know I am. So that's psychology. That's how you kind of do that. So if she can understand me, I'll just say, aren't you proud of yourself? You've done good. Here we are. We made it this far. And you're a handsome thing. I had never, I'm your owner. I've never met you. Yeah.
And then she'll bite you, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember I went up to a Gradar, and he's sticking his head out of his stall. I went, there's my boy. And I went up there, and that sucker lunged at me, and I went, I know better. But I went, sorry, no good, but yeah, my horses don't do that. My horses don't lunge and bite. They're not bred like that. So, but yeah, fine. If she wins the Breeders' Cup, she can bite, she can kick me, do what she wants to do. We'll get ready for the next year. You know what I mean? That'd be fun.
Well, Terry, we're going to let you go. It was fascinating and fun, and thank you so much for doing this. Best of luck with Taken by the Wind and all your pursuits with Thoroughbreds. Hope to see you become a bigger part of the game, because you bring some life and fun to it. So
I am, you know what? It was fun going to the sale and having, and Bob Baffert, and, I'm sitting there talking to all these guys like I belong in their world. They really were nice to me. And as my wife always says, when famous people are nice to me or whatever, she says, you're Terry Bradshaw. And I went, oh, what's that got to do with it? She said, you're Terry Bradshaw. And I went, I don't get it. You mean they're just not going to be nice to everybody? She went, But to know all those guys and be able to call them friends of mine and go down to the barn. I went down to who won the Kentucky Derby this year? Bring me up to speed. What the trainer's name? Bill Mott.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to go see Bill Mott at Saratoga. And I said, where's his stable? So they took me over there. And there's Bill. Said, hey, Bill, Terry Bradshaw, how you doing, man? Da, 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 da. We started shooting the breeze. Took me over. The love on the horse, very calm horse. What's his name again?
Sovereignty.
Yeah, Sovereignty. Beautiful animal. And it was just like, oh man, this is cool. Get to walk around, meet all these superstar trainers. And then there's Kenny, my man. So anyway, I hope I endure and last, and we have fun with it. We will have fun with it. No question about that. So, and thank all of you for having me on. I've never done anything like this. I've done it for the quarter horses, but never like this. So I don't know if I said anything good or bad, or I don't know.
You were awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Terry Bradshaw, our guest of the week, is brought to you by Gainesway. Here's a quiz for you. Pop quiz. How about that? Which first crop sire has the highest return on investment in the yearling sales ring this year? Life is good? Flightline? The answer is Drain the Clock. Gainesway, his 2023 fee of $10,000 has produced an ROI of 7.74, including that $270,000 colt at the Saratoga, New York bred sale. You can look for more yearlings, of course, by Drain the Clock at Fasig-Tipton, October. Gainesway, power, passion, performance.
Drain the Clock will win and win by as much as he wants.
Drain the Clock will bound home the winner. Drain the Clock, Jackie's Warrior, Drain the Clock by a head.
$270,000 in the back. $250,000.
In this week's edition of First Things First, I caught up with Hall of Famer Mike Smith.
Big money, Mike. Winning your Breeders' Cup Classic with your man, Bob.
Yeah, ain't that something? I've been on the bench a while, but he finally pulled me off, man, and I hit a couple of threes for him, and things are going well, so maybe that'll carry over to Breeders' Cup. Hey, look, he just put me on this horse. I don't know if I get him back or not, but it's glad to fill in if not, and hopefully I can ride him down the road.
Tell me about your trip. Was that the trip you wanted? Or did he get a bit gawky when you turned for home?
He did that, which gives me even a better feeling about him because there's room to grow, right? I mean, when he gets more focused, he's going to be even better. I thought I'd be laying a little further back. They didn't go very quick early. And when I saw Pripman ease back, I said, well, I'm going after him because someone needs to. And Bob told me that this horse was doing exceptionally well. So when he tells me that, that usually means I can get brave a little early. So that's what we did.
Big Mike is back. Well done.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Amen. Yeah, buddy.
All right, go.
Many thanks to Mike. And yes, the band is back together. Certainly looking forward to the Breeders' Cup Classic with Nevada Beach. All right, let's talk about Santa Anita. We're back racing on Friday, 1 o'clock post time, 9 race card on Saturday, 10 races along with 10 races on Sunday. We'll have 5 stakes on Saturday, 4 of them graded: the Grade 1 American Pharoah, Grade 2 Rodeo Drive, Grade 2 Oakleaf, and the Grade 3 Chillingworth Stakes. So many reasons to come on out to Santa Anita, 1 o'clock post time on Saturday.
Welcome back. And wasn't that, like I said, I warned you, that was a great interview with Terry Bradshaw. Randy, I'm going to have to lean on you for some of these races that we're talking about coming up this week because there's no PPs out yet for the Breeders' Futurity, though I know that Ned Toffee will be the big favorite in there. Also, there's no PPs out yet for the Coolmore Turf Mile. I think in that you got a couple of very interesting European horses coming in, Diego Velasquez, and also who is trained by Aidan O'Brien by Franco, Group 1 winner. And you have another horse that is coming in. What's the heck is his name? Wood Shauna. That's it. Owned by Resolute Racing, coming off a win in the Prix Jacques Le Marat. So they're sending the A team for this race, the Europeans. I would think in some manner they would kind of dominate the race, first and second, first and third, something like that. Randy, is there anyone else I'm missing that is a big factor in there?
No, I think you nailed it. The Coolmore Mile, Turf Mile is, Diego Velasquez is going to be really tough to beat in there, right? He ran probably one of, if not the best race in his career in his last start. He was sort of lucky to win, but he still got the job done against pretty tough competition. You mentioned the Breeders' Futurity. Ted Naffy is going to be a huge favorite in there. But here's a horse in the Breeders' Futurity I want you to keep your eye on. If Ted Naffy doesn't win, for whatever reason, maybe he just gets flat out run, because Kenny McPeak has a really, really nice horse in here by the name of Blackout Time. Go back and watch, if you get a chance, his race at Churchill Downs, his debut, where he finished second. And then they stretched him out to a mile at Ellis Park. Boy, did he look good. And I wouldn't be surprised at all for him really to give Ted Naffy a serious run for his money.
So the other big race for 2-year-olds over the weekend was actually 2 for the 2-year-old males. We had the Champagne at Belmont, but the American Pharoah is out at Santa Anita on Saturday. And first, does anybody know? I haven't heard Bafford's explanation for why Brant's not running in this.
He's training him up to the Breeders' Cup.
Training him up to the Breeders' Cup.
That's for you, Bill.
That makes sense.
Just for you.
Just for you.
Just for me. Right. But even without his best 2-year-old in the race, Baffert still has 4 of the 6 starters in here. He's won the race 13 times. He'll be going for 14. I think Desert Gate is really a standout. Now, he's the one who gave Brant real tough fight last time out in the Del Mar Futurity. Only lost to him by a length, had some traffic problems along the way. I think he's the best of the Baffords, and I think he's the best in here, period. So it looks like Mr. Baffert is going to be well represented in the American Pharoah Stakes and presumably also in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah, definitely the horse to beat. Tough trip for him last time. And I'm sure Bob's not delighted with the 1 hole, but hey, he's got, half the field in there. So I'm sure they can work something out.
Yeah, I mean, I preface this real quick by saying that I think Brant, watching his 2 races so far, is probably better with a target than he is on the front end. He looked much more dynamic in his debut when he was sitting third than he did when he set the pace last time out in the Del Mar Futurity. Having said that, I thought Desert Gate was the best horse when he was second to Brant in the Del Mar Futurity. With the trip that he had compared to the trip that Brant had. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Desert Gate run.
All right, let's turn our attention now to New York, where the Champagne is going as the 7th race at Aqueduct on Saturday. And talk about heavy favorites. And this is a fascinating horse. I mean, talk about jumping off the page. It's Our Time. One time out at Saratoga, wins by 17 3/4 lengths. It's a 94 buyer figure. Unless he regresses or somebody jumps up improves by 10 lengths, this race should be absolutely no contest. Tom Amoss picks this race, the 1-turn mile, over the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. But this looks like a very exciting horse, and I can't see him losing this.
He's certainly the horse to beat in there. Watch out for Napoleon Solo. He won a restricted maiden very nicely, indeed, a son of Liam's Map. And then Torkin will do some running late for Danny Gargan, but it's definitely his race to lose.
The 2-year-old fillies, also are going to be front and center with the Frizette in New York. I think Carmel Coast is probably the horse to beat there. And then the Alcibiades, the same thing at Keeneland. Tommy Joe is sort of the female mirror image of Ted Nafi. They're both owned by Spendthrift Farm. They're both trained by Todd Pletcher. They're both by Into Mischief. They're both 2 for 2 lifetime. They both ran toward the end of July, the first week in August in Saratoga, then came back at the end to run the Hopeful and Spinaway, respectively. Ted Nafi's won his 2 races by a total of 10 lengths. Tommy Joe by 10 1/4 lengths. It's like they're almost identical.
Twins. They're twins.
One's a colt, one's a filly.
Hey, did anybody notice that I got the name right this week? I didn't call him Ned Toffee.
That's
so
good,
after I struggled with that for about 15 minutes the first time that came up. But Randy, you're certainly right about Tommy Joe and also the whole Spendthrift Todd Pletcher thing with Ted Nafi. Again, this looks like a very chalky race again. I don't think you're going to get much in the way of a price. Zoe, what do you think of Tommy Joe?
She's definitely the horse to beat. At this point, I think she can beat some of the boys as well. So I'm all in on Tommy Joe. As for the Frizette, I do like the horse that Randy mentioned, Carmel Coast, but I like Iron Orchard coming in for Danny Gargan, the daughter of Authentic.
New York bred, yeah.
Yeah, I like her.
What do you think about the Oak Leaf? Baffert's got to win that too, right?
Yes, most definitely.
Explorer and Hamika?
I'll take Explorer, but Hamika's going to love the stretch out. She wasn't the same filly when she ran last time.
Well, that's my question. What was wrong? She looked so good in that race last time out. What was her excuse or problem?
Maybe she had a headache. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think she can bounce back.
Okay. Yes, it figures to be one of the 2 Baffert horses in that as well. So, of course, I think someone told me there's 26 graded stakes races this weekend. So let's get tied on and enjoy what should be a tremendous weekend of racing, the last big week of Breeders' Cup preps. And we'll know a lot more about the Breeders' Cup come Sunday. Well, actually, we'll have to wait till Monday to sort everything out because there's some big races on Sunday. I did notice, by the way, that Keeneland put out notes, pretty good job of telling who's going to race in each of the races. They only have 3 definites for this Spinster. And Randy, maybe you know better. Leslie's Rose, Nitrogen, and Torpedo Anna. It's not going to be a 3-horse field, is it?
I would seriously doubt it's going to be a 3-horse field. They'll get a couple of scragglers in there at some point, but I can't see it being more than a 5-horse field. Okay. Nobody wants to run really against Torpedo Anna, and then you throw Nitrogen in there as well. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a short field.
Yeah, well, Nitrogen and Torpedo Anna alone should be quite an interesting race. And nothing wrong with Leslie's Rose either. But, I get so upset when all these big races have 3 horses in it. The Woodward 3-horse field. Come on, folks. Let's get these horses running and put them in these races. So
it is time for the First TV Work of the Week. The Work of the Week is brought to you by First TV. I hope Sue got that. I actually read it perfectly there. All right, let's talk about the Santa Anita Derby and Preakness winner. It was Journalism who worked half a mile in company in 47 seconds flat. Last Friday at Santa Anita, journalism shared the bullet for the distance with his workmate. Touch of Destiny, an import from Uruguay who has not started in the US. He's a Group 3 winner in South America. Touch of Destiny has worked 4 times since September the 1st and could well be pointing towards the Breeders' Cup Mile. Of journalism, trainer Mike McCarthy said, "I thought he worked well. It was just an easy half mile. A leg stretcher, if that's a leg stretcher, 47 flat. He was absolutely cruising." Journalism was most recently second in the Grade 1 Pacific Classic on August the 30th at Del Mar. He's pointed towards the Breeders' Cup Classic on November the 1st. A leg stretcher, 47 flat. He's a beast.
Be a smarter better with First TV, the best horses. With thousands of exclusive morning workouts. All at your fingertips and delivered right into your inbox. Everything you need to be informed. Be smart. Bet smart. With First TV. All the thrills. Fraction of the bills. Experience the power of the partnership. Change your life, make new friends, and compete at the highest level of thoroughbred racing. West Point Thoroughbreds, the gold standard in racing partnerships. Visit westpointtb.com.
The TDN Writers Room also brought to you by West Point Thoroughbreds. All these major stakes races around the country this weekend are big races in their own right, but they're also stepping stones to the Breeders' Cup. That's what all the owners, all the horse players right now are thinking about, how to get to the Breeders' Cup. West Point, no exception. This weekend at Aqueduct, West Point will have Intricate Spirit in the Futurity and Curtain Call in the Champagne. Meanwhile, at Keeneland, Ewing goes in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. And the old war mare, Vava, will go in the Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes.
That's a wrap on this week's edition of the Thoroughbred Daily News Podcast, Writers Room Podcast, brought to you by Keeneland. I want to thank my co-hosts, Brandy Moss and Zoe Cadman, and especially what a terrific guest and so nice of Terry Bradshaw to give us all that time. He was our Gainesway guest of the week. And the people that work behind the scenes are they're the real brains of this operation. At Sue Finley, Katie Petroniak, Anthony LaRocca, and Aaliyah LaRocca. It's going to be a great weekend of racing. Enjoy it. I'll talk to you next week.